So, before some Tower Defense Simulator Shadow update news, there are going to be some news about Below Natural and what he said on Twitter. So, firstly, he said that everything between Hexscape and the Null and Void event will be permanently playable in the game eventually. Won't be any time until after the hardcore rework though. So, firstly, he is still planning the hardcore rework update, which some people had speculated that it might have been cancelled, which is clearly not the case. But it doesn't look like it might be released this year. I know in the plans for this year, at the very start, in one of the update logs, it said that the hardcore rework update would occur in 2025. Although, that being said, given that the Tesla Tower update is suggested to be this year as well, in like mid-November, I'm not sure how clear that is the case, given that there are only 3 Wednesdays in November, so there's not a lot of update weeks for Tower Defense Simulator. But additionally, there's going to be at least a one for the update for the Triumph of All Knights badges, for example, and the Tesla Tower update. So I'm not sure where the hardcore rework update would fit in this, so I assume it will have to be next year. And from here, it won't be any time until after the hardcore rework though, so it probably will be at least middle of 2026 when this is done. Now for this, I also assume that it is only the lore adding stuff that will be included in this, so the Hexscape event, the Operation Ice event, Ducky Revenge event, and the Null and Void event are probably part of this. I am not so sure about the Tower Defense Simulator X Please Donate event, although given that Operation Ice does have a cutscene where the scout has come out of the portal holding a money bag, maybe Tower Defense Simulator X Please Donate may be involved in this. But the Hunt's Mega Edition event, not sure if that's included given that it's not strictly part of the lore. And the baseplate event, I'm not sure if that will be included because that's just an event by name. I don't think it's included in any part of the lore for Tower Defense Simulator whatsoever. Nor do I think the Takeover event is included in any part of the lore as well. I think the developers, what they had to do for the Takeover event is they had to plan something very small because they focused all of their efforts in Null and Void rather than the Takeover event. Hence why a lot of the things in the Takeover event were just reused, apart from like the map, for example. So I don't think that this is part of the lore either. This does mean that because Below Natural suggests that everything from Hexscape to Null and Void will be permanently playable in the game eventually, firstly, this will be its own game mode, very likely, that you'll get rewards from, so it'll be part of the lot similar to how special maps work in Tower Defense Simulator nowadays, but I guess there's a story progression that the developers can use. But additionally, logbooks for these enemies will be able to be dropped, which means that the corrupted conserver, which appears in the Hexscape event, will eventually be able to be gotten through logbooks. But that also does mean that Mechanical Rot, which is a unique enemy and doesn't appear elsewhere in the Hexscape event, is still an exclusive enemy. So I think eventually, even though the Corrupted Conserver is rarer currently than the Mechanical Rot logbook, there will be a day when the Hexscape event is released, when maybe Operation Ice is released, maybe Tower Defense Simulator X Please Donate is released, and Ducky Revenge event will be released, but that was in logbooks, and Operation Ice was also in logbooks. There will be a day where the Corrupted Conserver enemy will be able to be gotten through logbooks. It also does mean that the Frost Spawner, that logbook, will probably also be augmentainable again, since the Pumpkin Bombs, they had an effect on the frost spawners that spawned into this event, but only in the map. It doesn't work anymore, and I do think the developers may want to re-add the ability for the pumpkin bombs to affect the frost spawners just for this. But it does mean that people with the Siege Engine logbooks, it may not be as rare as, say, other logbooks that have been permanently, well, not removed, but you can't get it anymore, which includes the Imposter logbook, which I think is now the rarest, and eventually the Mechanical Rots logbook, which will become second rarest because the Siege Engine will be permanently in the game, and the Corrupting Server logbook will also be in the game. However, with that being said, the Siege Engine logbook, you will have to kill the Siege Engine 60 times, and that is going to be a lot of pumpkin bombs on the Siege Engine. So I'd stack up on pumpkin bombs right now, given that you can get these from the consumable crates currently. Just open them up now, just play Tower Defense Simulator a lot, just accumulate a load of pumpkin bombs, so that when the Hexscape event, sorry, not a Hexscape event, when the Operation Ice event is eventually added, you can just use all your pumpkin bombs on the Siege Engine, and then just get the logbook. You will have to kill it probably 60 times. It will, because it's 500,000 health, I think there is a chance that it may drop before that, because I have heard some stories of people getting the Siege Engine logbook when it was just 20 kills 10 times, but also do bear in mind that because since the 20 kill requirement was added, it was changed to 60, all other previous kills before that were reset. So even if you did kill the siege engine a couple of times before this, they don't contribute to the 60 kills that are required to get this. There's also, I don't know if the developers are going to add an easy mode and a hard mode to this. One would imagine that the developers only add a hard mode to this, so that it's like locked, the event is locked towards players who actually can beat the event. But additionally, I also do not think that the developers are going to start re-adding the event towers that come in the events, because obviously we have the Hallow Punk, we have the Harvester, we have in Operation Ice, we have the Snowballer, we have the Elementalist, and then in Dark Revenge we have the Biologist, and then in the Null and Void event we have the Warlock. I don't think these towers are going to return if you beat these events, although I could be wrong, but if they do return, I think a lot of people are going to be pissed, especially if they bought it with Robux. I would also like to say that if Please Donate X Tower Defense Simulator were also to return to the Tower Defense Simulator as like part of like a new game mode, like there's a special mode and like there's like the lore stuff down here, then that would also mean that people who have illegal Please Donate logbooks, they're not going to be so rare anymore if people are just grinding out Please Donate, given that I think that is pretty easy to get, and I think you could solo it previously. I know some people were able to get some Please Donate logbooks from people actually playing the event for some reason after logbooks were added, but I think the developers may have removed it. But in any case, if the developers were to re-add this stuff, then you would be able to get the logbooks again, so they wouldn't be as rare as you have it right now. So, like I said previously, the Imposter and Mechanical Rot logbooks, they won't be returning because those are enemies that the developers haven't added to a game mode. However, I do think some mechanics, and I think all of the mechanics actually, from the previous events will stay put. So that's the like shield health when it comes to the base. That includes the Hallow Punk and the Harvester being granted towards those who play easy mode. Actually, I'm not sure. Like I said, easy mode, I'm not sure if it's going to return. But the Harvester, it may be in your loadouts for hard mode. So that may be possible. Now, in other news, Below Natural has responded to some players talking about lag and optimization in Tower Defense Simulator. So Below Natural here said previously a lot of the game's lag was caused by too many audio instances. So a few weeks ago we pushed a big change from legacy Roblox sounds to new Roblox sounds. Our testing led to massive improvements on our ends and test devices, so we thought it was safe to push out. But apparently, there's more layers to new Roblox audio, thanks to Roblox for making simplest things as complex as possible, that led to the current audio system suddenly causing massive performance issues. While there's no way we can revert to the old audio system, we have a fix on our end that we're working on Monday, so it has been released. And if you hop onto the game right now, you'll see massive performance improvements with most towers and enemies, thanks to the improvements we made a few weeks ago. Although it is debatable, a lot of people are saying that they're still lagging out in Tower Defense Simulator quite a fair bit. Below Natural also said a couple of days ago that they are looking at people to help out with the cinematics for our new Christmas event, which, bear in mind that the previous event, the Null and Void event, had a cutscene that was 3 minutes long. So the Christmas event cutscenes, I expect it to be at least 5 minutes long. A pretty long cutscene, I can't lie, but that'll be pretty good for Tower Defense Simulator in terms of lore. And they are also looking for 3D animators and a 3D character artist, 3D cinematic animator contractor, 3D animator contractor, 3D character artist. Although that being said, it's not clear if this is for Tower Defense Simulator or their new game, Alter Ego, although given with the cutscene stuff that Below Natural was advertising as well, this might be the new cutscenes for the Christmas event, which the developers are working on. In other news, the developers have fixed the indexes in Tower Defense Simulator for the event enemies. So as you can see here, the Null Beast, they have a profile picture, the Null Crook Boss has a profile picture, and it's like the Null Runner, and all of the other Null enemies in Tower Defense Simulator, they do have an index icon now, which is pretty good. However, obviously you can see that some of them still have like placeholder cat images, but these are like PNG bots, and like the PNG bots, even though they have a different cat image, like it's probably suitable for them, but they have fixed the other enemies in Tower Defense Simulator, apart from one, which I'll get to, having a default placeholder cat image, which I think they should change over to an actual placeholder image. But here, the tutorial boss, it still has the cat image, likely because it is a removed enemy, and the developers probably don't care about the fact that a removed enemy has a placeholder icon, because you can't really get it anymore. Also, interestingly enough, the PvP Season 0 has ended. As you can see here, PvP Season 0 has ended, although with that being said, I think you can actually still play ranked PvP matches. So you're just contributing non-existently to PvP matches if you're playing ranked matches, because you can't progress through the season anymore. And given that not that many players are playing PvP mode, I think last time I checked, more people playing Sandbox than PvP mode, I think PvP mode is pretty much not a disaster per se, but really, really underutilized by the community. And as you can see here, to get on the leaderboard, you need like 600 wins or so, or yeah, 700-ish wins with the amount of losses that you can also get. But the PvP season has ended for quite a while now, and the fact that the developers have not replaced it with Season 1 either means that they are really busy, so they can't replace it with rewards for something else, or they don't care about PvP mode enough for them to progress it into Season 1, and I think it's the latter. But it also does mean that clans, for example, shown off here, that might be not coming anytime soon, especially with all of the other updates, like the Tesla Tower, that the developers have promised us. Although, like, the Tesla Tower update, that's not even confirmed to be coming out in November, even though the developers did say it was coming out in November. So, a lot more speculation on PvP mode, although I don't think many people would care too much about it unless the developers were to radically improve the reward system in PvP mode. Yeah, as you can see here, more people are playing Sandbox mode at 135 than PvP mode, which just goes to show how dead the game mode is, and probably why the developers aren't updating the PvP season. Even though PvP Season 0, that was meant to be like the beta season, and the developers were like, nah G, we don't care about it anymore, we're just going to just leave it alone for now and see how many people play. And as you can see, 93 players, a lot less than Sandbox mode. Bearing in mind Sandbox mode is limited to players above level 250, but also those with the Sandbox mode Game Pass. Again, that is really odd. Also, apparently there is a glitch when it comes to the trial challenges here. So apparently they are meant to give out the event consumables, such as the Necromancer's Tomb, and it's actually been the case where the common is meant to give out 2 to 4 turkey legs, 2 to 4 pumpkin bombs, uncommon is meant to give out 2 to 3 sugar rushes, legendary is meant to give out 2 to 4 unholy storms, and 2 to 4 Necromancer's Tombs, and the Surf and Turf Battle Passes consumables have been removed. However, it's the case where it's not the case. The developers, for some reason, they've only added tickets as part of modifier rewards here. So, yeah, that's something. Also, interestingly enough, Night 1 gives out 2 to 4 turkey legs, and 2 to 4 pumpkin bombs, 2 to 4 sugar rushes, unholy storms, and a Necromancer's Tomb. But hard mode, it's meant to give out the Necromancer's Tomb as part of its consumable thing, or Triumph rewards, but it doesn't. So it looks like the developers have made a mistake when it comes to the rewards in hard mode, in that you can get the Necromancer's Tomb in easy mode, but you can't get it in hard mode, which is really interesting. The developers have also fixed the Necromancer's Tomb, because apparently that consumable, I know it was glitched, because when I tried to play it, it didn't work, but they have now fixed it, so you can see the skeletons, they run around you, and you read a book when it comes to the Necromancer's Tomb, and then they jump across you. That's really odd. Interestingly enough, there's also an animation for when the skeletons disappear. So if you were to deselect it, they would jump up and then they would sink into the ground, which is the first time I think that an emote has had a despawning animation when you despawn it purposefully. Additionally, when it comes to hardcore mode, previously there was an issue upon release for Night 1 when hardcore mode wasn't actually able to give out any wave bonuses, and given that the economy in hardcore mode is pretty bust, people were pretty pissed off about this, but the developers have now fixed it, but obviously you can't use skills in hardcore mode anymore. In other news, there is actually some glitches in the lobby which relate to the pursuit here. So there are some glitched lobbies which appear from time to time, which appear to show the Lemonade Stand Farm appearing here, even though we have got its light goal, and the pursuit light goal having also been achieved when it clearly hasn't. We are still, what, 115,000 likes away from the 2 million light goal for the APC Pursuit Tower, or the Hotshot Pursuit Tower. I keep forgetting which skin this is. But in fact, that version of the lobby is so glitched that it allows you to buy some crates in Tower Defense Simulator which aren't obtainable anymore. But I think that's a time for a different video. So all I can say is, if you ever get a glitched server, please do go check the skins section and see if you can buy the Ducky crate, because currently right now you are unable to buy the Ducky crate. So if you go here and see the Ducky crate here, as you can see, it's locked, but for some players in glitched servers you may be able to get Ducky crate skins, which they are quite limited now, given that I think they still appear in the daily skin store if they appear, so you know, you can still get Ducky crate skins through there, but you can't get Ducky crates anymore. So could be a good way of getting those. But also the coin crate, I believe, you can also get that, but that costs Robux, so people may not be abusing this for that. And finally, when it comes to Night 2, in hard mode, and I think in easy mode as well, the developers have made some changes so that it is slightly easier to beat, including some changes to the Null Guardians in that they don't have aggro anymore, so some towers, even if they are in range of some Null Guardian clones, they are able to target the Null Guardian, which I guess is pretty cool. But Night 2 is still, I think, as hard as it was previously, even despite the changes.